Welcome. So the topic we'll be discussing in this lecture is learning. So we'll be discussing various techniques of learning. So learning is one of the important aspect of artificial intelligence. So today AI is famous because of these learning algorithms like machine learning and deep learning techniques. So we'll be discussing a brief introduction to various learning techniques. Okay. An agent is learning if it improves its performance on future task after making observation about the world. So this is how we define learning. So, so when we can say that an intelligent agent is learning, we can say that an agent is learning if its performance is improved on future task. Now there are different types of learning. For example, writing or noting down a phone number, that is also one form of learning. Or to introduce a new theory, like how Albert Einstein did. So that is also a form of learning. So now what type of learning we are discussing about? Okay. So basically we are discussing about one class of learning which is restricted to a set of inputs and output pairs. So we are discussing about this type of learning which is restricted to a set of input and output pairs. And the job of the learning algorithm is to learn a function that maps the input and output. Okay. So we'll have a algorithm or a program which we call it as a learning program. This learning program will be given set of inputs and output, and the output should be what? In the sense, output should be a function which maps any input to an output. So typically any machine learning algorithm, it that is what it does. Okay. Now let us try to understand why should we learn? Why should an agent? Why we want an agent to learn? Is there anything else we can do without learning? So this is the question. So basically here the question is why we want an agent to learn. Why we are expecting that the agent should learn. Can we do something else? So so if the design of the agent can be improved without learning, why can't we do that? If the design of the agent can be improved, why wouldn't the designers just program in that way rather than doing learning? So there are three main reasons why changing the design is not possible. The reason is we cannot anticipate all possible situation the agent might find itself. Okay. So we can only, when the programmer is initially programming, the programmer can only infer certain situations. The programmer cannot anticipate all situations. So the programmer cannot include design for all the situation. That is the first reason. The second reason is the programmer or the designer cannot anticipate all changes over time. So things changes over time. Nothing is constant, right? For example, if you have a program which is designed to predict tomorrow's stock market price, then it should learn to adopt when the situation changes from boom to burst or from burst to boom. So what is the future? We don't know. And also future changes with respect to time. Then accordingly, the algorithm should change. So this is also one of the reason why everything cannot be done by design. And the third reason is sometimes actually human programmers even they don't know how a particular solution works. Okay. For example, so that may be a normal mundane task a human being is daily doing, day-to-day activities he may be doing, but still he don't know how it works. So if I don't know something else like how it works, then how can I program that? So that is not possible. Hence this is also one of the reason why we are going for learning. So the example for this third case is, say for example, most of the humans are good at recognizing the faces of family members. Okay. So we all recognize, we can recognize the family member's face, but can you write a program for that? We can't. Because why? Because we don't know how we are identifying, how we are recognizing the faces. So for such tasks also learning is required. Okay. So when we talk about learning, any component of an agent can be improved by learning from data. Right. The improvement and the technique used to make them depend on four major factors. So these are the four major factors based on which the learning happens. First is we should identify like which component is to be improved. because when we learn, something is improved. So first we should identify like which component it should be improved. Then we should identify what, then we should know what the prior knowledge the agent already has. We should also know the prior knowledge of the agent. What what normally the agent knows, that also we should know. And also we should know the representation that is used for data and the component. So the agent uses what representation, how the data and the component were represented, and what is the feedback available. So these four are the crucial aspects of learning. So these are different types of learning, or based on whether a feedback is received or not. Based on that, we have four types of learning. One is unsupervised learning, the next is supervised learning, the next is semi-supervised learning, and the last one is reinforcement learning. With unsupervised learning, actually no feedback is supplied. So here we discussed that there are four factors based on which the learning depends. First is identifying the component to be improved, and then we should know the prior knowledge of the agent, and then we should know like how the data and the component were represented, then what feedback is available to learn from. Okay, so with unsupervised learning, actually there is no explicit feedback is supplied. That means that means there is uh, so in unsupervised learning we don't know whether, so in the previous case we have discussed that the algorithm will supply input and output. So if this is the input, then I know this is the output. Then our algorithm will try to find a function, right? But in unsupervised learning we give only the input. There is nothing like output. So basically what it does is it does clustering. It identifies similar inputs and group together. It identifies and it calls as cluster 1. It identifies another set of similar inputs and group together and call it as cluster 2. It identifies another set of similar input and groups together and call it as cluster 3, so on and so forth. So that is what happens in unsupervised learning. Whereas in supervised learning, it observes the input and output path. It compares the input and the output, and it learns a function that maps the input to the output. So that is what supervised learning does. In case of semi-supervised learning, there will be few examples with input output pairs. Okay, so for example, assume the dataset contains 1,000 instances. Out of the 1,000 instances, maybe 200 instances may have input output pair, but the remaining 800 input, they may have only inputs. So in this case, partially you have input and output, and for the remaining set of data items you have only input. So in this case what we follow is called a semi-supervised learning. So now we can apply some machine learning algorithm and we can try to map this input to the output using a function. Okay, then from this, for this 800 inputs you can map and you can identify it connects to uh, which class. Okay, so because this is uh, for the 200 initial items you have the input output pair. So for that you can you know the class. So normally in case of this is actually a supervised learning. So there is a class, whether, say for example, this is used to find uh, whether animal is a cat or dog or elephant. So now it means you have three classes. So here you have input and output pair. So accordingly it will be categorized into cat, dog or elephant. Now for these 800 pairs, you will be comparing like they resemble which set. You take one from this 800, one instance from this 800 and compare it with cat. Is it matching, or if it is matching, add these two. Otherwise here, so on and so forth, we do. So this is actually an example of semi-supervised learning. So most of the real world, actually, what in most of the real world, what happens is semi-supervised learning only happens because we can't have fully labeled data. So labeled data means you have input and output, then that is a labeled data. So we cannot get 100% labeled data. So in the real world scenario, the learning that is happening is actually it is uh, semi-supervised learning. With reinforcement learning, the agent learns from a series of reinforcement, like rewards or punishment. The agent learns from a series of reinforcement. So what is reinforcement? It is either rewards or punishment. That is, uh, there will be an external input to the agent, which either appreciates the agent or it de-appreciates the agent. For example, a lack of a tip at the end of the journey gives the taxi agent an indication that it did something wrong. So if there is a taxi driving agent and at the end of the trip, if no tip is given, then it is an indication. It is something like an indication to the agent that something went wrong. Then the agent should think and accordingly it should uh, modify itself. Okay. So these are the four broad categories of learning. And now if you consider supervised learning, in supervised learning, the the data set, normally the algorithm will be trained with data sets. Okay, the data set may contain n input and output pairs. So it may have n number of input and output pairs, something like this: x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3, so on and so forth up to xn, y1. Where each of these xi are nothing but input, where each of these xi are nothing but input, and this yj and and this yj is nothing but the output. Okay, so each of these xj are input and this yj is output. Now what we want to do is we want to identify a function. We want to create a function something of this form: y is equal to. So from this input output, the job of this learning algorithm is to identify a function of the form y is equal to f of x. So discover a function h that approximates the true function, that approximates the true function f. So this is the true function. Now we want to identify a function h that approximates this function. Okay, so that we are calling it as hypothesis function. So uh, so here the entire data set, for example, if the data set contains 1,000 entries, then we divide the data set into two sets. One is called as train set and the other one is called as test set. Okay. So normally this train set split will be done something like this: 70% will go for train and 30% will go for test. So in this case, if you have 1,000 data items, then 700 will go for train and remaining 300 will be kept for test. Now we'll be using only these 700 instances to learn. Okay, for learning we'll be using only this 700 instances. So this process is also called as training. So based on these 700 instances, this learning algorithm will try to identify the function h that maps the input and output. Okay. So after training with all the 700 data items, we got a function. Now to test now to test this function h, how good it is, we should test using the test data set, not using the train data set. Okay, because this function itself is designed using train data set. So obviously for train data set, it will give better result. So you have to check the test accuracy. So you have to calculate both train accuracy and test accuracy, but the performance of the algorithm is actually evaluated based on the test accuracy. Okay, right. So if this for example, if this train and if this data set is used to classify the output, finally the output, if it is used to decide whether the animal is a cat or dog or 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 elephant, in this case we call this as classification problem, because finally the input will be mapped to any one of the class. This is one class, this is one class, this is one class. So when the output y contains finite values like sunny, cloudy, or raining, then this type, if in supervised learning, if the output y contains finite values, then it comes under classification. Okay. But if the output contains, if the output contains some continuous values, okay, if the output contains continuous values, then it is called as regression. For example, predicting the price of a house given the number of rooms or given the square feet. So that is actually a regression problem. So if the output is a continuous number, continuous value, then it is a regression. If the output is a finite set of values, then we call it as classification. Right. So next, let us discuss briefly about learning decision trees. Okay. So basically, so so how it learns. So in the supervised learning, finally when learning happens, one of the common way of learning is using decision trees. So basically it builds a decision tree. So the decision tree is something like, if you take this path, what are the options? So multiple paths. Out of that, any one of the path you have to take, and finally you have to reach the conclusion. So the input and output values for the decision tree can be either discrete or continuous. Let us discuss an example with discrete values. Okay. Let us discuss one example where the input have only discrete values and the output has exactly two possible values. If the output has only two possible values, then that is called as Boolean classification. So this is output has, if the output has more than one possible, if the output has many values, then that is called as finite values, but many, then that is called as classification. But if the output has only two possible values, say for example, we are having a data set which is used to say whether something is a cat or not, then it has only two possible values, either true or false. So that comes under binary classification. Okay. So if the output has only two possible values, then that is called as binary classification, where each example will be classified as either true or false. So let us discuss one example for decision tree. So here we would like to build a decision tree to decide whether we should wait for a table in the restaurant or not. Okay. So these are the what you call, these are some of the parameters we are going to use here, right? Or the attributes. So alternate represents whether there is a suitable alternate restaurant nearby or not, yes or no. So this alternate is an attribute which will take only two values, either yes or no. Bar, so this attribute says whether the restaurant has a bar area to wait in or not. Okay, it has a bar place to for waiting or not. This also takes yes or no. And the next is Friday, Saturday. Whether the current day is Friday or Saturday. If the current day is Friday or Saturday, this will be yes. Otherwise, it will be no. Hungry. Whether the person who is visiting the restaurant he is hungry or not. Again, it is yes or no. Patrons. How many people are in the restaurant currently? So this can take any one of these three values. So because we discussed that everything will have only discrete values. It can be either none, some, or full. Price. So this is restaurant's price range. Different price ranges mentioned like this. Okay. So it is something low cost, medium, and high. Raining. So this parameter says whether outside currently it is raining or not. If it is raining, it will be yes. If it is not raining, it will be no. Reservation. This parameter says whether the user has currently reserved any table in the restaurant or not. Before coming, does he has made any reservation on a particular table or not? If he has done any reservation, then this parameter will be yes, otherwise it will be no. Wait estimate. So this is a parameter which is telling like how much, what is the estimated time for the user to wait, whether it is between 0 to 10 minutes, 10 to 30, 30 to 60, or 60. It has three possible values, either 0 to 10 or 10 to 30 or 30 to 60 or 60. So let us see how the decision tree we are going to form for this. So let us assume these data sets. The data set, now our data set contains 12 inputs, x1, x2, x3 up to x12. So x1 first input says this is about one particular user, which says there is an alternate bar nearby, alternate restaurant nearby. There is no bar. It is not Friday. Okay. Yeah, the user is hungry. And patron, already there are some people in the restaurant. Price, it's a high cost restaurant. It's the cost of the restaurant, whether it's a low cost or medium cost or high. Whether it is currently raining outside, no. Whether, what is this RES or reservation, whether the user has reserved, yes. What type of restaurant it is. So whether it is a kind of restaurant type we have missed here, whether it's a French, Italian, Thai, or burger, what type of restaurant it is. It's a French restaurant. Now the estimated waiting time is 0 to 10. So so this is what we want to identify. Will the user will wait or not? In this case, the user will wait. Okay, this is one data set. Similarly, this is another data set. Like that, This is the entire thing is data set. This is one instance of the data set. This is another instance. This is another instance. Like that, we have 12 instances. Okay. Now using this, we can frame a decision tree like this. So this actually this represents a decision tree of this example. Okay. This is a decision tree corresponding to this example. So you can see this decision tree. First, what we are checking the patrons. If patrons means already how many people are in the restaurant. If nobody is in the restaurant, then the if nobody is in the restaurant, then what does it mean? Then the user will not wait. Okay. Then that is what the data set says. Because wherever you see what you call the patron is, wherever you see patron is none. So this is patron. Okay. Here patron is none. Here also patron is none. So whenever you see patron is none, there is user does not waits. Okay, here also he does not waits, right? So whenever patron is none, user does not wait. Whenever patron is some, then what will happen? User waits. So again, this also can be seen. Whenever patron is some, user waits. This is some, he waits. This is some, he waits. Okay. So if it is none, he don't wait strictly. If it is some, he waits strictly. When the restaurant is full, actually in this case, partially he will wait, partially he may not wait. This is what we have to identify. So full, you see, for this it is the user is not waiting, whereas in this case full, user is waiting. In this case full, the user is not waiting. In this case full, the user is not waiting. Here full, the user is not waiting. Here full, the user is waiting. So some places he is waiting, some places he is not waiting. So now we have to go for another parameter also. So because with this one parameter we are unable to strictly define. So next we are checking the weight estimate. What is the weight estimate? So if patron is full, the user may wait or he may not wait. So if the weight estimate is greater than 60, if it is more than 60 minutes, then the user never waits. So you can check any weight estimate greater than 60. This is 60, user not waits. This is 60, user not waits. Okay. If it is 30 to 60, if the weight estimate is 30 to 60 minutes, then then the user checks for alternate, whether an alternate restaurant is available or not. If there is no alternate restaurant, okay, if there is no alternate restaurant, then the user checks whether he has reserved or not. If he has already reserved, then he will wait. If he has not reserved, then he checks whether there is a bar for waiting or not. If there is a bar, then he waits. Otherwise, he don't wait. He leaves. Okay. If there is an so if there is no alternate, then these are the things he does. He checks whether he reserved or not. If there is an alternate, then he checks whether it is a Friday or Saturday or not. If it is a Friday or Saturday, then he waits because other restaurants also may be full. If it is not a Friday or Saturday, then he leaves. He does not wait. Okay. Similarly, if the weight estimate is 10 to 30, then the user checks whether he is hungry or not. If he is not hungry, he waits. If he is hungry, then he checks for alternate. If there is no alternate, he waits. If there is an alternate, then he checks whether it's raining outside or not. If it is not raining outside, then he don't wait. If it is raining outside, then he waits. Okay. If the weight estimate is between 0 to 10, then surely he waits. Right. So this is the decision tree corresponding to this particular training, this particular input. Right. Now our question is actually, see, this is a training. Here the decision tree is given, but how the algorithm constructs this training decision tree? This is the crucial thing. Okay. So what we are we want to know is how we are building this training decision tree. We are not going to discuss the step-by-step process, but this is what a machine learning does. A machine learning algorithm, it builds this decision tree so that when a new input comes, it is able to map it. Okay. Now you can give a new input x13, which is totally different from this, but based on this decision tree, it will identify. Right. So here it is easy. Here it is very much important to identify like which parameter or which attribute you are going to explore first. Okay. So you are starting with patron so that the tree is like this. Initially, if you have started with bar, the tree might be very lengthy. So here our objective is to find a smallest decision tree which satisfies all the cases. Okay. So here is an example. Assume that we are starting with type. Okay, type. So 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 type can take these values: French, Italian, Thai, or burger. Okay. So so for type, so this represents here this just a minute. Yeah. So type, you can see here. Where is type? Yeah, here. Type is here, right? So type can be either French, Italian, Thai, or burger. So here this first row represents all yes. Okay. Sorry. This first row represents all yes, and this represents all no. So if you see 1, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, these inputs are yes. You can see here. This is first input. This is third input. This is fourth input. This is sixth input. This is eighth input. This is 12th input. These inputs contain the value yes. 2, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, they have no. So 2, 5, 7, 9, 11, these are no, right? So that's what this table says. Now if the type is French, if the type is French, you take only French. This is French. There are only two Frenches. One of the French is having the value yes. Another French is having the value no. Okay. So the first one is having the value yes. Fifth one is having the value no. So there is one yes and one no. So this is first is yes, fifth is no. Okay. This yes is in light gray color, whereas this 5 is in, it is S is in light gray color and N is in dark gray color. That's what the meaning. Italian, if you check, there are only two Italians. This is one Italian. This is one Italian. Again, 6 is yes, 10 is no. Okay. So that you are getting 6 yes, 10 no. Thai, if you check, there are two. There are four. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So the first one is 2 no, 3 yes. 2 no, 3 yes. So you can see here. Sorry. Thai. This is Thai. 2 no, 4. 4 yes. And 8 yes, 11 no. Okay. So 4 yes, 8 yes, 2 and 11 are no, right? Similarly, burger, if you say 3 and 12 are yes, 7 and 9 are no. Now here it is the you have, if you have one yes, you have one no. So actually this is not a good parameter because you are unable to classify. Again, here also you have combination of yes and no. So when you, so which is the right attribute? So at the top, when you choose, you have to choose the right attribute such a way that it is highly likely to get only yes or no. Here we have both yes and no. Here also we have both yes and no. Here also we have both yes and no. So this is not a right attribute to start with. Okay. So but if you start with patrons, then for none, if the patrons is none, so this is patron. So where is none? This is, here is none, here is none. So whenever patron is none, you see the goal is no. Okay. Whenever the patron is none, the goal is no. The user does not wait. It is no. Similarly, whenever the patron is some, the goal is yes. Whenever the patron is some, the goal is yes. So whenever it is some, the user waits. Whenever it is full only, there are ambiguity. The user may wait or not wait. Next, you have to choose the next parameter. Again, next parameter also you should choose such a parameter uh, which will at least it should identify only some yes or some no. So now when we choose hungry, when the user is not hungry, when the user is not hungry, most probably he wait. Okay, so hungry parameter, you see, these are the cases when the user is not hungry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 places he is not hungry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So whenever the user is not hungry, he waits. So here also, yes, no, no. Whenever the user is not hungry, so here the user is not hungry, but he waits. Okay. You should check both the things. What? The user is not hungry and full. Whenever the restaurant is full and the user is not hungry. Okay, that we have to check, not just hungry. So first you have to identify where the restaurant is full. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now you see where the user is also hungry. User is hungry, restaurant is full. User is hungry, restaurant is full. Here user is not hungry. Here user is hungry, restaurant is full. User is hungry, restaurant is full. So whenever user is hungry and the restaurant is full, user is not ready to wait. Okay. Here also user is restaurant is full, user is hungry. This is fourth case, right? We have to check not hungry, not hungry. Okay. So whenever user is whenever the restaurant is full and the user is not hungry, that we have to see. So restaurant is full 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and where the user is not hungry. Here the user is not hungry. Here the user is not hungry. Here the user is not hungry. So the restaurant is full, user is not hungry, and he is not waiting. Restaurant is full, user is not hungry, and he is not waiting. Okay, restaurant is full. So that's all. Only two cases. Here full, yes. Here full, yes. Okay. So these two cases user is not waiting, 5 and 9, right? So that we are specifying 5 and 9. Whenever the restaurant is full but user is hungry, then for this 4 2 cases, he is waiting, and for these cases he is not waiting. So the point here is we should identify the correct parameter which segregates all yes or no at some level, right? So just a minute. Okay. So the point is we should identify the correct, choose the correct attribute which classifies all yes to one side and all no to one side, something like that. Right? So we are not discussing how it actually works, but this is what internally happens. See, this is another way of representing the same tree. We have represented here one way, but this is also a correct way of representation. But this is a simplified tree. Here you can see here some of the parameters we are not considering. For example, the parameters like reservation. Okay, reservation is not considered here, right? Raining is not considered here. Reservation, raining, all these are not considered here, right? So patron, if it is none, the user does not wait. If it is some, he waits. If it is full, then check with hungry and proceed. But this also classifies all data items in a proper way. Okay, fine. So that's it about decision trees. Let us stop here for today's discussion. Thank you.